We are live from the JazzGuitarLessons.net studio. My name is Marc from JazzGuitarLessons.net. Improve your jazz guitar playing with a real teacher. That's me. And today we have the webinar for the song My Foolish Heart. My Foolish Heart. Really hard to say for French people. And this is the November 2018 featured tune of the month. Recall that we are going to publish 50 standards total. We started this endeavor in July 2015. So this is song number 41. Please do not hesitate if you have questions during this webinar. We are live now. Unfortunately, we did not really make an announcement for this. So I guess you guys will be watching this in a replay. Remember, if you have access to the standards on jazzguitarlessons.net through your membership, whether it be a tune of the month membership or unlimited membership or other form of stuff, you can always watch webinars associated with songs. So each tune comes pre-packaged with a lead sheet with a chord melody, a comping steady, and a single note solo every month. That's all part of the song. That's a lot of stuff. And we have this associated webinar where I, jolt things down on paper. By the way, I'm a big fan of using my paper, called this bullet journal, which I think now is somewhat of a viral thing because a book came out on it. So very useful little a practice journal and productivity device that I use. So I have a few things. I dropped my pen. A few things I want to point out from this month's arrangement, as well as taking your questions. Or what we try to do in the webinars typically is to seek the difficult things, or seek what people would be missing, or how to approach certain things, because sometimes we get these really difficult arrangements that are used to demonstrate specific concepts. So right away, I'm going to dig in. So we have this. I have my Takamine with me, so we'll do a lot of back and forth with playing the guitar and talking to you. And what I want to do at first, that as I typically do during the webinars, is well, I'll give you a run through. What we do is we have a little harmonic analysis, so we can go completely through the entire tune and go, okay, that's why this chord is appearing, and etc. So this might take 5 to 10 minutes. So we go over the entire form, and then I will tackle the chord melody and give you some pointers, and then the comping steady, and then the solo. A few quick notes about this song. My favorite version is, of course, the Bill Evans version, the classic. It's probably on Waltz for Debbie. It was with the trio with the late Scott LaFaro, who died tragically. I really love that performance because it's a soulful, poignant performance, and this is a great ballad. If you've never heard it, just go on YouTube, check it out now. Also, there's a 2010 release by Keith Jarrett. It's just a whole bunch of live tracks from, I believe it's Montreux Jazz Festival, and it's called My Foolish Heart. It's just, a red background, My Foolish Heart in big letters. Keith does a pretty good job at playing that tune, so really these two recordings are recommended, and they're both in B flat. So now I'm going to jump in and share my screen with you guys, so we do a little bit of a harmonic analysis. And here we go, screen share, application window. I'm just going to share this guy. Actually, what you're seeing now is my Dropbox. I'm not affiliated. I'm just saying I love the software, been using for several years. So what we have here is the lead sheet in the key of B flat, which is the key of that recording, right? I'm just going to jolt something down. Okay. So just be mindful if you practice this from the tune of the month. We have, whoops. Okay, let's do this. I think we have a missing bar. We have 28, 29, 30, 31. Actually, there are one more bar missing at the end of this. So don't let this fool you. And I have a few notes about this for you. So B flat. And of course, if you don't know the melody, it's a really interesting static melody with then da da boom ba ba da 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 bo ba 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 da 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 bo da da da. So that's really the motif of the song. This was written for I believe a Broadway show. Victor Young, I wonder, but it's not something I'm familiar with. I'm simply familiar with the song. Full-fledged confidence. I haven't played this song enough, or enough, quote unquote, for me in jam sessions to be really, really comfortable with it. although I love it. It's not easy for guitarists to play that song. So let's dig in a little bit of harmonic analysis. So one thing I will recommend is, so you guys can really identify the form of this. It's A, B, A, C. And what's cool is the B and the C are different, of course. So the first A is here. I wonder if I can outline. Yeah. So around here. And then the second A starts here again, where D, da, bo, ba, 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 da, da. So B flat major 7 to E flat major 7. This is your guidepost. Unfortunately, this lead sheet is a bit misleading. We would need a double bar here to indicate this new section. So this is one of the assignments I would have you do if you really want to learn how it goes. Take a blank sheet of staff paper and just separate the bars 4 by 4. See, this system has 1, 2, 3, 3 bars, kind of odd, right? So just make a good, clean 4 by 4 sheet of 32 bars, and you will see that the A section comes back. It comes from bars 1 through 8, and then comes back after 16 bars. So at bar 17, you have the second time the A comes back around. So this is to sort of orient yourself through that harmony. Quickly, we have B flat major 7 going to E flat major. So that's a 1, 1 to 4 major movement. And we get this sort of a D minor going to a G7, and that goes to C minor 7. Now, C minor 7 is 2. So what you can observe is that we have 1, 4, and you have a secondary 2, 5, meaning that D minor 7 to G7 are only there for us to get the C minor to that C minor here, which I'm trying to outline with my cursor. There you go. So that C minor happening bar 3 is our sort of a guidepost that we're trying to reach. Hey, I could comment on this. Hey, this is the 2 chord. Cool. And then we have an A sus to an A7 to a true D minor. That would be here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bar 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5 actually. And then another dominant that goes to D7 or D7 altered to G minor. So what I like to look at in the first 8 bars is how we go from 1 to 4, going to 2, going to 3, and going to 6. And 6 is the relative minor, so it's one of these poignant feeling where you hear the da da, oh, da da da, da da, oh, da da da, and then you feel it building, right? Then one more time, da da, oh, da da. So that's 6. That's the G minor that I've outlined on your screen here. And then we have one more. Da da, bo ba ba ba. So the G minor is really like leading us. We're really going into G minor. So all in all, we have a general B flat major area, 2 flats at the clef. And then we're going to get, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. We get the 2, 5 here. That's going to a B flat major. That B flat major is the beginning of the B section. Although it's not written, it's common that jazz musicians would call this a B section. So this is the section that goes. What we have to be careful about with the B section is that it's 1 bar of the 1. Then we do this, and that's F minor 7 to B flat 7, back to E flat. So this is 4 again, but what's coming right here is a secondary dominant, secondary 2, 5 to go to the 4. So 1, 4 again, then you've guessed it, we go back to 6. And we go back to 6 again. This is only in passing, back to 6. And there's 2, and then 2, 5, and back to 1. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this because all these chords are interrelated, and they're so close to one another because the melody is very inside. There's no big mystery. It's kind of soulful and poignant, but I guess in a 1940s jazz ballad type of way, but it's not very complicated. So B flat major, B flat 7, E flat major, A minor 7 flat 5, D7, G minor, D7 altered, G minor again, C7, C minor 7, G7. Da, 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 da. So I'm going to skip over to save some time here. Da da, bo ba 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 da da, again da da, boom ba da da, da da D minor, bo ba ba da 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 da, boom ba da da da. So when we hit that note here, that D, that's what we could consider the beginning of the C section. No play on word, please. And that's where instead of hitting a C note on the A minor 7 flat 5, we do hit a D note. And that D note is the 11th of that chord if you want. Then we go get some more G minor treatment. Da, 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 da. And then that part is really a backdoor. So I'm going to start from that high D on A minor 7 flat 5 to D7, the G, da 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 da. That's a back da 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 da. It's love, my foolish heart. It's like it's love. It's true this time, something like that. So very da, 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 very inside melody, very simple, but that backdoor, let me spend a second explaining what it is. We call a backdoor an actual a 2/5 cadence or just a 5 that is a whole step lower than our destination. So the destination in this case is B flat major again because it's a 1 chord. And we have A flat coming right before. And we just put the 2, the assorted 2, E flat minor 7, the A flat to be back to this. So that's really what distinguishes the C section from the B section. So it's A, B, A, C, recall. So when the C section comes around, you have this impression that it's sort of not a blues turnaround, but it turns around the harmony in a slightly different way to sort of bring it to an end. So this is really an interesting little feature. So once again, from the last 8 bars, actually on your sheet, you're going to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, there's something. I guess that would be the real beginning of the C section then, because that's what's differing. It's like A, B, A, C, but in the sense that the second times you have A, B, A prime, C, because the last bar of A, the second times A comes around is slightly different. We can split hair all day on this, but basically know what the song is. Listen to Bill Evans, Keith Jarrett, you'll get the idea. So recapping, that's really the climax of the melody, the highest note it will ever have. That's the A flat again. Then for the last 2 bars. So here we have a C to an F. So C minor 7, G7 in those 2 bars. This is just like, in a way, beating around the bush. Like that C minor to the G7 here. Basically what we have is a B flat major 7 as our destination. What we want to hear as humans is just this big 2/5. This is a big elongated 2/5, if you will. You have the 2, but then they don't give you the 5. They give you the dominant chord of C. So it's like 2, 5 of 2, and then down to a 2, but the dominant 2, then a 5, suspended 5, whatever. So this is all to harmonize the melody and to, make it sound good. There are a million ways to interpret this, actually. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now because I think that's pretty much all we can say about this. And we're going to start talking about the chord melody. And we are back live. Sorry guys, so the webinar was a live event, and at the time of doing the event yesterday, which you've seen me in the brown shirt, I was so tired that when I stopped sharing my screen for that harmonic analysis, I actually stopped the stream altogether. So here I am the day after, hence the different clothes and different look here. So we're going to continue on to the chord melody, and this stuff is going to be unfortunately not live, so it's not a webinar anymore, it's actually me in my studio. If you have any sort of questions on any part of whatever we're covering today, please do not hesitate. Use the comment function on YouTube, or even you can use your student account to ask questions. So the chord melody, I jolted down a few notes, and one of the first things is we've noticed this is an A major. You're gonna see me looking at the screen this way a lot because that's where my sheet music actually is. Save the trees. And what we have is, since the melody is the 5th, which is an E note, so this is a garden variety A major 7, but played with all open strings, so A, G sharp, C sharp, etc. And what I did recommend with the lead sheet when we ran the harmonic analysis previously is that you take a piece of paper and that you make 4 bars by 4 bars through a page until you have actually 32 bars, right? And write down the A, B, A, C sections and write the chords in the key of A major. Transpose it to the key of A major just to convince yourself of what is actually the basis of the tune, and then looking at this chord melody in the package here to see what is different and how basically how we were incorporating substitutions and variations. It's always good to know what the foundation of it is. I know, right? Breathe, Marc, breathe. Sorry, I'm on probably my third or fourth cup of coffee today. So then, just to look at the beginning of the chord melody, the first thing that you should see is that we have a pattern that takes place over 2 bars. So the pattern is, I would describe as chord, passing chord, chord, ascending arpeggio, chord, chord, then again. So chord, passing chord, chord, ascending arpeggio, chord, chord. In the second bar, you can see this on the C sharp minor 7 with an 11th here. So you have this, and on beat 2, you simply reiterate part of the chord. So it makes for this beautiful piano style comping, like the left hand of the piano player would strike the chord twice. So strike the full chord. It just makes for a beautiful sort of accompaniment. So notice how we have the same pattern over bars 1, 2, and then 3 and 4. I'm gonna play it and sort of, you know, spell it out while I do it. So chord, passing chord, ascending chord, chord. Repeat that. Chord, passing chord, ascending arpeggio. Then it launched into this this sort of variation. So that's really my first note for you. Is look, we have this basic sort of comping going on, and you could even subtract the melody and see if just on your own you could run this entire tune. And as far as passing chords go, you can just elect to play the chord that is a half step above your destination. In the case of the first bar, it's A major to D major, so you play E flat 7 dominant works well. It's sort of a tritone sub. So let's hear it. I'll just play maybe the first 8 bars to give you this sort of idea of how I would play it without the melody, just piano style comping, almost like da 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 bo ba 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 ba. Ba ba, boom bum bum ba, da da, boom ba 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 di da, da da, boom ba ba ba. Right, so you see there's this not walking chord, but almost like quarter note pulse that you keep going, even though you can play this this thing like sort of rubato. This is not something you would play with a band, really, unless you prepared it. Let's drink some more fast juice. And for the bird lovers, Robert's been chatting with me by email for a while. This is just for you. Love these cups. Actually, this is a double long espresso for those interested. Almost like a cortado, but I didn't have time to heat up the milk. Busy teacher here. All right, next, I wanted to bring to your attention also the fact that we kind of messed up the melody so it fits nicer, this rubato thing. If we would have played the melody as written, the fake book, we would have went bam, bo, ba, da, da, right, so 8 notes. Well, now we go 1, 2, 3, 4. We kind of delay that and play these ascending arpeggios fast in sort of 16th notes, so pay attention. So there's plenty of moves in filling in those quarter notes that sometimes they sound really fancy, but they are not super fancy. For some reason, they just happen super well on chord shapes that you might already be familiar with. I really enjoy one of the moves I'm gonna spend time with because I cannot, dissect the entire arrangement in an hour. Sorry. Breathe, Mark, come on. And it's bar 5 actually where we hit that C sharp minor 9, so the melody is in there. So sorry. So if we just remove the stuff that's at the end of the bar, like beat 4, we can just look at C sharp minor 7, but actually there's no minor 7, so it's just a minor triad with a 9th. That's descending, and it just so happens that the melody's in there. That's a typical C sharp altered type of chord. I'm just going to bring back this voicing down to an A minor chord for us guitarists, just to give you some ammo for your own comping in chord melody. Actually, this is one of my favorite harmonic devices, if you will. So you take Stairway to Heaven. You know this guy? Right. What's there? Is that it? And you take the first voicing, which is an A minor triad, and you just bring up the A note to a B note, right? So you get B, C, and this is a sort of a stretch in between your B here and your C here. And then you play E. So this is the 9th. This is the root, this is the 7th. Don't break your wrist. You see me going like this is because this is a hard thing to play, and I have to make sure my hand is in the proper position. I'm not breaking too much either there or there. Sorry, I'm also looking at if my hand is within the shot of the camera. So learn to use that guy. It's a moving 4th string thing, so we have this in bar 5. I love that thing. What else do we have? So I told you, it's an A major. I recommend you redo your own lead sheet for that purpose. The pattern is over 2 bars, so chords, passing chord, chord, ascending line, chord stuff, chord stuff. Literally what I wrote, that's my little bullet journal. You can check out the YouTube channel for an explanation on how I use this guy too. Quarter note moves, descending bass is omnipresent. So one last thing I will bring up is, well, 2 last things actually. There is these, we would almost call them these play on words that are musical in nature throughout the arrangement, but you could do without them. My point being, after we've established that this is the melody, then you get this guy. Whoops, sorry. So I'm looking at bar 6, this C13. This arrangement will be as beautiful if you don't do these little fillings, and same for the rest. So you could try to find what the basis for the arrangement is, and then see, oh, you just took that thing on A major, and then it went. there's a note that descends through the scale, but still the melody note is the same. Just see how we've added this beauty, but if it gets too cumbersome for you, if it gets unplayable, don't play it. You know, just get inspired by how it moves. And this is what I keep referring to for my students is I'm giving you sort of a laboratory, a lab with, oh, this is what Nick came up with. You know, Nick is the guy who wrote this arrangement, mad scientist, and he just came up with, okay, this is what we're doing, and this is how I'm going to do it. But you'll be in the lab as a student to have different results, and they're as good. This is just a good little finished product to help you get ideas over what to do in between the chords. You know, it's not the music, it's between the notes and between the chords that you must pay attention. One last note, beginning, so bar 17, beginning of the second half of the song, we just have these almost classical counterpoint. You know, these things, it's very modern, it's very hard to execute if you don't have a background in classical guitar, so you can just take the top notes and leave the rest as usual. All right, and now we'll be on our way to take a look at the comping study, which is also a very classical study in a way with your right finger style. I'll see you there. Mark is always questioning how to avoid these awkward cuts in the videos. For the comping study, which is also in the key of A major on my Foolish Heart, foolish, difficult to say in French for a French guy. So what we have is this Leo Brouwer style of classical right hand pattern. So the pattern is repeated throughout. So what we're going to do is focus on the first two bars. Well, actually maybe one bar. So two chords alternating. I want to outline the fact that I'm a big fan of, not fan like musical fan, but I'm a fan of learning the art and craft of classical fingerstyle, which is very different from, you know, American fingerpicking, acoustic folk stuff, or the popular things that came out of guitar in the 20th century. It's like a school on its own, not better than folk, whatever, but the classical has a history and a method that in Canada at least we use the Royal Conservatory of Music books, so you can grab those like grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 and the technical books, and you can find out, you know, what these kids are working on at 8 years old, and you hear them at 12 like, wow, how did they play that? Well, it's because they follow the conservatory method. What we have, let's just get started with the pattern, and I'm gonna play it for you just once. So once again, we have this A major chord that if you didn't grab it yet, please do. It's the first chord in the chord melody arrangement as well. It's an A major 7, but we don't need that because it's an open A. We don't need that open E as well, so we go like this. Let me explain the P-A-M-I, the PAMI version. So P is for thumb, for pouce in French, and A is for your ring finger, which is, in French it's annulaire, actually, annulaire, the ring finger, and then M for middle, or majeur, the major, and I is for index. So P, A-M-I, A-M-I-P, A-M-I-P. That's a pattern. Once again, P, A-M-I, A-M-I-P, A-M-I-P. Let's grab it over the A major chord, practice it together. P, A-M-I, A-M-I-P, A-M-I-P. Notice the last A-M-I-P is over the next set of strings. So you go P, A-M-I, A-M-I-P, switch strings, A-M-I, whoops, A-M-I-P. Do this again. P, A-M-I, A-M-I-P, A-M-I-P. I'll do it without stopping. So it sounds like this hypnotizing cascading of notes. And let's just put the A major on hold just for now and go grab a C major chord. So you guys can actually, like cowboy C, you guys can actually practice it with me. We'll start slow, and I'm going to ensure that you see my, oops, there's a beam for this light on top of me right there. You don't see it in the shot, but my headstock came very close to knocking it down. more for the bloopers reel, right? So let's practice this at this tempo. All right, I'm gonna count 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Faster. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can see how it can get daunting because you have 2 thumbs in a row, right? P, A, M, I, A, M, I, P, A, M, I, P, P, A, M, I. And also the switching of the strings, it gets confusing. So that's it. Let's explore why it's a seemingly simple pattern, but since it's 4, it's P, A, M, I, that's 4, A, M, I, P, 4 again, A, M, I, P, 4. So it's 4, 4, 4, which equals 12. And actually what we're doing is doing 12, if you look at the score, it's sextuplet, sextuplet. So it's 6 tuplets, which is twice as fast as triplets, we should say. So it's like you get your beat like triplet, triplet, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it sounds like, oh, it's kind of, we're kind of tripping a little bit, but the point is we're squishing what should feel like 6, and instead we do 4, 4, 4. So 6 plus 6 is 12, but 4, 4, 4 is also 12, but it's like we're breaking the 6 in half somewhere, and it sort of feels weird, right? So that's what you have to pay attention with, attention for, sorry. And now since we have way more time, now I don't have to take questions over the webinar because this is not live, so we'll have a little bit more time to practice it with me. I'm going to loop the first bar, so you guys that are interested, you can actually practice with me a little bit faster. And if you're not interested, maybe skip a minute or 2 ahead, where we will we'll be talking about a single note solo for this for my full chart. Ready? So we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's do it a tad faster, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4. Good job. If you knock this down and you can do it on autopilot, then it's just a matter for you, changing your left hand, a matter of changing your left hand in the proper position. I'm not going to go over in detail any of the shapes. We are maximizing the use of open strings, goes without saying, because open strings are neat, plus we're in A major. You will wind up with probably shapes and things you have never played before, because we want to always take advantage of that note. There's just a couple of weird things, like bar 10 where we have an E flat 7 with an open E. Actually, it's an A7 substitution of some sort. So there's a few really crunchy modern things. If you're a fan of Pat Metheny, you'll notice sometimes that's how Pat will take this approach to reharmonizing his own tunes. Like I'm thinking of Blast Train Home. He plays that solo acoustic fingerstyle and he fills in with a lot of arpeggios, and you hear things that, like, if you analyze them after the fact, like, oh, you could not play that actually, but he does, and it's part of the arrangement, and it's beautiful. Also, check out, if you're interested in fingerstyle and acoustic in that vein, you should really take a listen at, what's it called? One Quiet Night, I believe. So it's Pat Metheny solo acoustic. Sometimes he plays the baritone acoustic, and he plays, you know, Norah Jones revived Don't Know Why. So Pat Metheny plays a solo version of Don't Know Why, and it's, you may cry. You may just look at it and go, you know, I'm just going to quit guitar and just be a good listener for now. It's amazing. All right, so on that funny note, we are done with the comping study, and next we will cover the solo, which is in B flat. So I will see you there, and try not to end this video too awkwardly to go to the next segment. And we are back with the single note solo portion of My Foolish Heart here. This one is in B flat, and I guess the reason for this is it will give you some ammo to solo. If you go to a jam session or someone calls that tune, then you will be familiar with the progression. The chord melody arrangement and the comping study are both in the key of A major to accommodate for this guy, which is tuned in a way that, well, you're probably familiar with its tuning. Long story short, this whole solo is a great study for taking care of leaps on the guitar. You know, when you progress through a scale, so let's take the B flat major scale, we have, you could progress in the scale through scale-wise, right? We would call this in French mouvement conjoint, conjunct. I don't think it translates, but it's like you're going to the next step in the scale, or you know, you could stay in the scale like this and just play a solo, which is actually a lot of classic solos are built like this, and then you have scale-wise and you have step-wise, meaning that you, or skip-wise, you can do a scale, or you can do a skip, or do 2 skips in a row, and you wind up with an arpeggio, 1, 3, 5, 7, 6, or right, you can play a part of a scale up or down and then proceed by skips for a while and come back and then do chromaticism. This is all well and good, and you probably have studied your arpeggios, you have studied your scales. When we talk about leaps, we're talking about a fourth or more. For instance, if you play fourths in the key of B flat major, you're going to wind up playing fourth up, then maybe another one up, fourth, fourth. You can play a fourth over every member of the scale. You could play a fifth, that'd be a fifth. You could play a fifth above that fifth, which is part of the stuff we're covering in that solo. So it's practicing leaps for you guys is extremely useful in mastering the fretboard, the instrument, but also mastering the components of whatever is included in a chord or a scale. Because you cannot rely on a fixed box that you have in your mind, in your mind's eye, that you can just say, oh, it's there, I know it's part of the scale, and there's a visual attached to it. It's like, this is, you can't do this anymore. You have to say, oh, I'm here, I'm jumping to the fifth, I'm jumping again. So what is that note? Is this even in the position? It's not in the position you know, probably. So right then you break your box in the first 3 or 4 notes of the solo. So to check this out, on the first bar we have B flat major, we have 1, 5, and 9. Actually 9 is also 2, and then we have above that. So what I would like, what did I write here? Oh yeah, also one thing is really interesting is this is a study in 16th notes. There's barely breathing, pretty much like me on video. Just talk, don't breathe. And you would seldom play like that, but it's a good study for you to just keep going playing 16th notes and learning something neat. Of course, as everything we have on the website, you do not have to learn the entire thing. You can learn licks that you enjoy, learn just the beginning and take it and run away with it. What I want to do with the first 4 notes, actually, is it the first 4 notes? if you analyze this back to within an octave, you get 1, 5, 2, 4, 3. So you have the first 5 notes of the scale, but spelled really awkwardly. 1, 5, 2, 4, 3. Then this is just a B flat major triad. So right there, you're most likely out of your comfort zone. I wouldn't be surprised if you look at this like, yeah, this is new stuff. So let's just look at how you could migrate this to different. You could migrate this to different scale tones, or within the same B flat scale, you could still play all the diatonic chords. So on B flat major, you play. What if you climbed up to the C minor that's on the next step? Right? I'm just taking the lick up the scale. I'm doing it again. Is that it? Yeah, that's right. A natural, right? So, G, A. See right there what I did? I just kept the same string and repeated the pattern in the key of B flat. All the notes that I've played are in the key of B flat, and essentially what I've just done is this. I played the first 5 notes of every mode of the major scale, but I've played it in such a pattern that has leaps. If you do this for every lick you encounter, no, let me rephrase that. If you do this for 1/4 of the licks you found in this study, you will not need jazz guitar lessons anymore. You would, the website and me, you'll just be on your own to work on your own stuff. All right, so that's the first comment I wanted to make. So I like to observe what has been done with the chord and then say, what if the chord is different? What if we're playing a B flat blues now? What if we're in C major instead? Can I play that same pattern over that chord, or that, you know, just gain some technical proficiency with that idea. The other idea I like also is in bar 2, so the solo goes like this. This one I really like because you go 1, 5, 2, 3. So 1, 5, 2, 3, 1, 5, 2, 3, 1, 1, 5, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 5 is the beginning of the pentatonic scale. So then again, I stopped and I went, okay, what if I do, instead of just one last note, right? So you can have ammos almost as much as you're willing to put in it, you're gonna get out of it as far as ammos to be playing this thing right. So what did we cover? I said it's leaps. Why leaps are effective? It's an each study in 16th notes. We've explored the pattern that we have on the B flat major 7 chord in the first bar and the pattern we have in the second bar. Then it gets sort of wacko, but you can replicate the process. That the G altered in the second bar is really interesting. I will, you know, in math books, they say the proof has been left to the student as an exercise. So take these notes and see if you can analyze them. There you go again. It seems to be the repeated pattern. So I was saying on the G7, see if you can analyze which scale degrees this is according to a G7. You'll be surprised that you get a lot of altered notes and a lot of good notes at the same time, which makes it really interesting. The general rule of thumb, and I don't want to go too deep, I think I've been deep enough in it now, is it's not strict through the study, but we have leaps at the bottom of the register of the guitar, so the low strings, and then once you climb up, you start to play things that are more scale-like. So I'll bring your attention to maybe bar 8, so that's on the F7, a few really cool little bebop licks. Of course, it's not the case for the entire thing, but that's a thing I've noticed. Also, we have a motion that is flowing, going up, going back down, going up, going back down, going up. So seldom will you see that thing going up and not coming back down slowly. It's almost like it's an exercise in covering the entire register with the same concept in climbing, and then covering the same register going back down while the chords are changing and while we alter the notes we must play on our way down. Something like that, right? See the website also for big scale exercise. There's also an audio file for that. Really difficult, really interesting exercise for you guys that want to gain mastery over this and improvise without you know, whenever the chord changes, it's like you have to start a new idea. It's like, no, you can play over the change, playing over the bar line, as they say. Beginning of the second chorus, once again, in a chord melody, you get this change. You play like modern classical arpeggios with counterpoint, and now same thing with this solo. You get leaps that are even larger. I'm not even going to attempt this because I'm going to run out of frets. And you get these tritone substitutions concepts even for major triads. So it makes for a really interesting little way of approaching my foolish chart that I believe has not been covered, like probably in history and ever. Not to say that jazzguitarlessons.net is better than anybody, but this is a really good study in pseudo-Baroque music, practicing leaps, you know, being inspired by J.S. Bach, and at the same time playing over a jazz progression, which, you know, in a way, if you listen to Bach, you have a lot of commonalities in terms of how jazz musicians think about their phrases and how to spell the changes. Well, good music is good music, right? It's universal. It transcends time and style and whatever. So it's a really, really good, neat little tool. Listen to it several times, grab the parts that really shake you, and then leave the rest. On that note, that's all we have for the solo, and I will run a quick... sorry, I must take a note of this. I'm a bit OCD on the organizing part, on the organization of my ideas part. I write everything down now. Makes me feel more secure. So that's it for this webinar on my foolish chart. I hope you have appreciated. We can answer any or all of your questions, whether you access this through membership, or if you access this through the old, it doesn't exist anymore, tune of the month, or if you have purchased this as a bundle or a package of songs on the song individually. We're happy to hear from you, because when you're successful and learning things and progressing, we're successful, because that's what we do, right? So please don't hesitate if you have any questions, ideas, concerns. People find typos and the tabs and things like that. Like anything goes. We're always happy to hear from you. And once again, I'm Marc from jazzguitarlessons.net. Improve your jazz guitar playing with a real teacher. That's me. And I will see you soon on the website and in this next webinar.